folks. This is your peachy shooty update. Allah Akbar update for the for the 8th. All right. First things first. Credit where credit is due, and a revision to my original article. The MPs on the base apparently did engage the shooter. They chased him. He was, I assume they exchanged fire with him. I don't know. But they were after him and essentially chased him into the Escambia County Sheriff's Office. And he fired on 2 of their officers. They fired back and they killed him. So, yes, the MPs were able to interdict. They were not the ones that actually got the shot that took him down, but that doesn't matter. They were involved in it. There was not a, we didn't have anybody there. We didn't have anybody paying attention. No, that's not how it went down. So correct the record when more information comes out. There it is. All right. Second, we have now learned that he bought the gun at a gun store. So there's no gun show loophole to close, right? Bought the gun at a gun store, and his legal excuse, and it was a legal excuse, was he had a hunting license. So he presented his credentials. He didn't cheat. The FFL didn't cheat because it is illegal as a non-citizen, if you're here on a non-immigrant visa, to buy and possess a firearm if you have a hunting license. Except, what did he buy? Bought a 9mm Glock pistol. Excuse me? What was he going to hunt with a 9mm Glock pistol? Now, the FFL legally was within his rights to sell him the gun. But I'm willing to bet he also called in a suspicious report of a suspicious act or filed one. And why wouldn't you? What are you going to hunt with a pistol? Quite honestly, in this state, in any state. Can you legally in this state hunt deer or turkey, both of which happen to be right around the season's open, in this vicinity of time for those animals along with other game? And the answer is, yeah, you could, but you'd be stupid to. Legally, you can do it in the state of Florida. You can hunt turkey with a pistol. I don't think you'll get any turkey. Never mind that you don't want to shoot a turkey in the meat with a pistol because you want to wreck the meat. I mean, come on. Same thing with a deer. That would be a horribly unsportsmanlike way to take a deer. So that's just not reality. All right. You would buy a long gun of some kind if you were going hunting for anything. And you might carry a pistol if you're hunting for feral hogs, because feral hogs are one of the few animals out there that actually will attack humans and tend to be very hostile towards them. So, I could see that you could carry it as a self-defense weapon, and that's legal in Florida too, openly, by the way, if you're hunting. But that you would go into a gun store and just buy a pistol belies, that just belies logic. So let's have some facts about whether or not the FFL in question, who complied with the law, also reported a suspicious transaction. I'm willing to bet he did. And in Florida, if you buy a pistol, you run through the process, and then you have to wait 3 business days to come pick it up. So he would have bought it, paid for it, and then he can't have it for 3 days, which means if there was a suspicious activity report filed, there was plenty of time to stop him. But no, I bet it didn't happen. Just like the wonderful governor of Florida at the time and the Secretary of State, who, by the way, later went on to run for president. That would be, a guy by the last name of Bush, gave the terrorists that attacked on 9/11 Florida driver's licenses, which they then used to board the planes. Now, would the airliners and everybody else have been a little more suspicious if they had presented Saudi passports? Probably. But no, we're just, no extra scrutiny. No problem here. We're just going to, Florida driver's license. All right. Then we have the fact that has since come out that they have 10 Saudi students that are being held right now on the base, apparently. Good. How about the rest of them? They don't have all the rest of them. There are several that are running around, which is why they're kind of worried about things maybe happening in other places. Then there's the trip to New York. Why did they go to New York? Was that just sightseeing? Sightseeing before we were going to play a la snack bar. Well, I don't know. All right. And by the way, there are reports that he was screaming, Aloha snack bar the entire time he was doing this. So, yeah, I think we can kind of, get out of that. But let's cut with this terrorism bullshit. It was an act of war. Why do I say that? Because the person who did the shooting was a Saudi military officer. He was an official representative of the Saudi Arabian government. And he was over here. And by the way, The guys that were filming and, sitting watching in a car, Saudi military officers, did they make any kind of a move to stop him? No, they did not. The ones that are missing, what's their involvement? We don't know. But those are also Saudi military officers. These are not civilians, folks. These are officers of the Saudi Arabian military. They are official representatives of the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. This is not a terrorist incident. It is an act of war, period. Can we pull our head out of our ass long enough to say that? And then contemplate exactly what sort of response we should have? These were not people who were rogues. They were not random Saudi citizens like everybody has claimed with 9/11, which, by the way, is a bunch of BS too. But, that was the excuse. We had our government let a bunch of Saudis, official Saudis, leave the country, leave the United States while our airspace was locked down. We let them go. They were people who resided in and owned homes that the hijackers were later disclosed to have visited and spent time in. What was their connection? We have no idea because we never got to talk to them again. Now we have a bunch, we don't know how many Saudis running around, same sort of situation. We're going to let them out of the country too? How about all the other Saudi citizens that are in the country? How about all the other members of the Saudi military? Are there any more of those that are running around in the United States? Does anybody believe the king that, this isn't who we are? The hell it's not. Your military members came into our country and just shot a bunch of people. And it was an intentional act. It was not an accident. Excuse me? People, we need to pull our head out of our ass. All right? The scolds are out. Well, if we went over in Israel and we went, I don't care. Frankly, I don't care. Do I support all the things that we're doing around the world interfering with this and that? No, I do not. But you know what? If we're going to do that kind of stuff, and then by God, we better have some damn security. And that means we don't let these people in our country, and we sure as hell don't let them have guns. And why don't we have rules that say, well, anybody from the Middle East, no gun for you, hunting license or not? But no, and if you get a suspicious report, which I suspect there is one, and that's going to go down the memory hole, no one's going to talk about it. How come that ain't going to be run down? How about the people responsible aren't going to be held responsible? Why is it the Secretary of State and the former governor of Florida, both of whom handed out those driver's licenses like they were candy, how come they weren't held responsible? 3,000 Americans died as a result of that. Never mind the Federal Bureau of Incompetence that got a suspicious activity report and did nothing with it before they had the opportunity to do their Aloha snack bar because they had to first learn how to fly airplanes. And then we got this guy, basically, I'm willing to bet, same sort of deal. But you know what? No one's ever going to be held accountable. No one. And yet, if you or I was to commit an act of negligence like that, the absolute best outcome was that we'd be asset stripped to our underwear. And in many cases, we'd go to prison for it as accessories before the fact, especially if we had every reason to suspect there was something wrong, that we should have done something about it, and we didn't. So let's cut the bullshit, folks. It's time to stop being stupid in America. All right. Peachy update. Just give you a minute or so on the end of that. Supposedly, here we go. There's supposed to be some other change that was being made to the rules. Who knows? Look, you have to expect at this point that the Democrats are going to vote out articles. And as I pointed out the other day in my Peach update, the clown peaches, that the reality of it is I think Nancy Pelosi is clowning the process to the point that the Senate dismisses it. Because if you want my opinion on what's really going on here, she's scared to death that this actually gets out into the public and people start talking about it for real. Okay, that we're not just having like an academic discussion, but that all of the corruption across both sides of the aisle, don't get me wrong. You think the Senate wants all this out there, or that the Republicans want all this out on the table? Of course they don't. Not any more than the Democrats, because they're all guilty on both sides. So stop with this BS about this being partisan. The reality of it is, though, that what the president did, both with regards to Ukraine and China, there's no evidence at the bar that he did anything wrong. When it comes to China, asking them to look at Biden, do you think there's something wrong with that? Remember, Black Jesus, otherwise known as Barack Obama, was all in on everything being fine with regards to China, all right, while China was imprisoning millions of Muslims. And we know what Barack Obama thinks about Muslims generally. So do you think that there's a possibility that when Joe Biden and his son on Air Force Two, which, by the way, he had absolutely no reason for Hunter Biden to go with him on that trip, no legitimate reason, but, he was over there. He went on the plane. Is there a possibility that Joe basically went to the Chinese and said, hey, our president really likes Muslims, and we know you're locking up a bunch of them, and if you give my kid $1.5 billion to manage, then we won't do anything about it? Do I have any evidence for that? No, I don't. I have no more evidence for that than that there is that Donald Trump tried to bribe the Ukraine. But is it a plausible explanation for what might have happened? Yes, it is. And so if you're going to say that Donald Trump has some kind of a problem with him asking the Chinese to look into this, what if that's the story in China? Maybe it ought to be looked into, eh? So how about we get some facts? Because there are facts, and we can develop them. I'm your ticker guy. And hey, no more Aloha snack bars, and let's shut that crap down.